It's giving dragons.
It's giving murder.
It's giving poison.
It's giving... He slit her throat, and actually I thought that was very sexy.
Yeah. It's giving reasonable adjustments in the workplace. And we love to see it.
Right, that was 7 minutes. I think let's start.
That's enough pepping.
Because it's fucking 8:30 in the...
Oh my gosh. Way past my bedtime.
2024. We're both so fucking stupid. Do you know what that is? That clip is us with our one shared brain cell being like...
We're two very intelligent women. Actually, I'm not.
Where's the proof?
Where's the proof? There's no proof. Hi, welcome back to the Horny Book Club.
Hi.
I'm Alice.
I'm Ellen.
And today we are talking about Fourth Wing.
By Rebecca Yarros.
We're very on the ball, very quick with getting this one out, I must say.
Just, a year since it released.
Just a year since it released.
It's fine. It's because I've only just read it and we couldn't do it if I hadn't read it.
Famously, you can't read things if they're popular.
Yeah, and I'll be honest with you, I just didn't think I was going to like it. I thought it was going to be shit. And I was sort of right, but I was also
very wrong, yeah.
Before we begin, 2 caveats. No, 1 caveat and then 1 piece of information. The caveat being, Rebecca Yarros has said a load of stuff on social media recently about Israel-Palestine and also about the army. We don't agree with any of that. That's just all kind of we're trying to separate the art from the artist. I don't really know if you can actually do that, but just sort of know that, well, I hate the army as a concept. My second thing is, follow us on Instagram. Let's do it again. Sorry.
Okay. Do what?
Follow us on Instagram.
Oh, okay. Me?
Yeah. You do it.
Yeah, do. Follow us on Instagram. I can't do it because you do it all the time, so I actually don't know what to say.
Me do it.
You do it. I do the editing. You do the spiel.
You can follow us on Instagram at the H Book Club on Instagram. You have to search the whole handle because we're still shadow banned. Actually, maybe we aren't.
No, I think we are.
One of our reels got over 1,000 views.
Slay.
Celebs. Thank you to everyone who's followed us recently, presumably from our reels. It's nice to have you all. I hope you're enjoying the podcast.
Enjoying the podcast and enjoying the reels. It's been fun.
You can send us emails, hornybookclub@gmail.com. Anything you want, basically, apart from dick pics.
Yeah, no dick pics. And only positive feedback.
Yeah, what would you have to say, really? Ellen's laughing too loud into the microphone. Give a shit. Ellen's laugh is really loud. And I was like, yeah, because I'm enjoying my life. Okay?
All these men coming at you with this this negative feedback. I'm like, listen.
What is this? Fourth Wing?
What is...
Fourth Wing? What am I?
All right, Dane.
Trying to cross a parapet?
Yeah.
Wearing one good boot and one bad boot?
Why are you trying to steal my memories from touch?
And we have a Ko-fi where you can send us money if you want. You don't get anything for it except our gratitude. Thanks.
Yeah, we'll shout you out.
Yeah. We will shout you out, which I assume you definitely want.
Everyone's waiting for us to say their names on this podcast. We love you if you do, we love you if you don't.
It's totally fine. It's just would be an added extra for us.
A bonus.
Because Alice especially puts loads of work into this podcast.
You're telling me.
I just post the reels, and sometimes I don't post the reels.
Sometimes she doesn't post the reels. So Fourth Wing. Fourth Wing by Becky Yarros herself. Military wife Rebecca Yarros.
And I'm like, you really just have to sort of take that from your mind. The fact that she's like, I love my military man. I was like, gag. Big gag for me.
I read Fourth Wing last June.
Really soon after it came out, am I correct?
Within the month it came out, yeah. It came out in May and I read it in June. And I was obsessed. And I was so upset when I found out how much of a military wife she was. I was like, oh dear. But oh dear. But I think that's a British thing. Because I think the Americans, and I think we have quite a lot of American listeners, so I'm like, I don't mean to insult. I really don't.
Yeah, and it's just not for us. It's not our vibe, obviously. And I just think it's possible to write a book like this without being like, what? it's interesting. Sorry, obviously spoilers for the whole of Fourth Wing. Like, it's interesting because I'm like, this is really anti-disestablishmentarianism, or what fucking ever the word
not
is.
like, it's not like, I love war is great.
It's like, this war is terrible and it's tearing the continent apart.
Yeah.
People are dying. What I think it is it's like her husband is Xaden. Because he's a military man.
He is a military
man.
But
He's
Xaden,
the wing leader.
Yeah, but Xaden's a military man, like, against his fucking will.
Oh, that's true.
So let's get in. Shall I try and do a synopsis?
Oh god, it's hard, isn't it?
It's really hard.
I guess do like sort of the beginning overview.
A bit of world. Okay, so welcome to Fourth Wing.
What?
I don't know. Nothing, don't worry.
Did you like give yourself chills though?
We are in a place called Navarre.
Again, well, don't know. How do you pronounce any of the words? Any of the names?
Couldn't tell you. But we are in a country area of land called Navarre. Navarre have been at war for like so long with
400 years.
Yeah, and I can't even do this. Okay,
you can.
They've been at. Let me get through this. Don't talk to me.
Oh,
I've got to get through this.
Ever again?
So Navarre is a country. Within the country, they are at war. Within. No, shut up. I'm just going to start again. I'm going to do it again. So we are in a country called Navarre. And within what?
Well, I don't think the whole thing's called Navarre. The thing it's called this side is called Navarre and this side is Poromil or whatever. And
but
the whole thing
is
called
country?
The whole thing is called the continent.
Of course. I just thought it was like a continent. No.
No, it's called the continent.
Okay. One more time. We're in the continent. Within the continent, there is a place called Navarre, where we set our scene. In Navarre, there is a war college, where you are basically trained. Everyone's in the army. You are trained in certain aspects of skills that will be helpful for the war. Mm-hmm. So you have the scribes, who are like in charge of history and keeping what is important for the history of the continent and of the wars. You have the infantry and the medics.
Healers.
And then you have the riders. The riders have dragons and they are like the army. They're like the fighters.
Well, it's interesting because I'm like, they've got the infantry. So the infantry plus the riders is what the army is. And it's like the riders are like the cool, like special kids.
Yeah, in the leather jackets.
Yeah. And then the infantry are like the sort of groundlings.
Yeah. Yeah. So
as it were.
Yeah. So the riders are the dragon riders of the army. And your dragons give you powers, which makes you even more powerful and, real what's the right word? Like an asset to the army, basically. We are following Violet Sorrengale. Her mother is like the top general of the whole army of Navarre. Very, very high up, if not...
General Sorrengale, yeah.
General Sorrengale. She has 3 children. Had 3 children. Rest in peace.
Fuck's sake.
She has 3 children. Brennan, Mira, and Violet. And she's a bitch, basically. And she's like, all my kids are going to be riders.
Yeah.
So Mira is a rider. Brennan died in a battle of a rebellion. There was a revolution about... How long ago was it from the point of the book?
Well, I don't...
like 10 years ago?
I don't understand why... Now that you're saying this, I'm confused about why Brennan was there, because how old is Brennan meant to be?
Well, he's older than... He's the eldest sibling.
Oh, okay. So yeah, because it's like Xaden and all of that lot, like Imogen, etc., are the first generation of...
The children of the
rebels.
The rebels.
The rebel children to be able to go to...
Well, wait.
Basquiat.
Yes, but wait. General Sorrengale's got 3 children. And Brennan, the brother, was killed by one of the head rebels, which happens to be Xaden, our male main character's father.
Yeah.
So in retaliation to that, General Sorrengale killed Xaden's father and all the other rebels. So then their children, Xaden and the gang, etc., were punished. As part of their punishment, they all have to enroll in the Riders Squadron at War College, because that is the only piece of the college that accepts volunteers, because no one would volunteer otherwise because you would die, but also they have to do it.
Yeah, because it's kind of like, and I think someone makes this comment at some point, it's just like an actually very easy way to kill off a lot of them.
Yes.
Because loads and loads of people enter this war college. You do 3 years, but then like by the time they all graduate, like 75% of them are dead.
Yeah.
Every year or something ridiculous.
So many of the people who go to the war college, the riders part of the war college, die just through the different trials and tribulations of being with dragons. So I hope that made some sort of sense. So basically, Violet, I'm so stressed. Violet is a weak, is described as being a weak woman, physically weak. She has what we believe to be Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which is something that the author has herself, but it's basically an aspect of being hypermobile. So she has very, very weak joints, and chronic pain, chronic fatigue, and her hair is losing pigmentation as part of that.
Is that related to that?
Yeah.
Very, it's like,
Yeah.
I know it's not cool, but
Be
also
like
I was
slang.
like, it is,
What a perk.
she makes it out to be very cool.
Yeah. Violet, her whole life, wanted to be a scribe, and then like 6 weeks before she was going to go, her mum's like, psych, you have to go and be a rider because all of my children are riders, so go and get on a dragon.
Because her dad was a scribe,
Yes.
but then he died.
Yes. But everyone's like, why would you want to send your daughter with a disability who has done no training for this to this school? She is going to die. And then that is where she meets Xaden.
Xaden Ryerson.
So they are like the setup of, they are, enemies. Her mum killed his dad because his dad killed her brother. So it's not just politics, it's personal as well.
Yeah, it's like, how do you do enemies to lovers? Well, you make sure they've all killed each other's family.
Yeah. That's the setup. And basically, when they're at the college, a whole lot of stuff happens. They bond with dragons. Her like childhood family friend, Dane, is there.
Dane Atos. So that establishes a love triangle between Dane, Violet, and Xaden.
Yes.
Although it's a love triangle that's kind of like an unknown love triangle. Because we have Violet's very intense inner monologue.
My gosh.
We know that she thinks Xaden is hot, but we don't know whether or not Xaden reciprocates.
Yeah.
Although you do sort of come to assume.
Yes.
But Dane is kind of outwardly like, you're so just like weak
But
and
so
tiny,
pretty.
but I really actually fancy you a lot.
But he does not believe in her at all.
Yeah, and so it's kind of like he is very like a rule follower, and he does everything correctly and like all this kind of stuff, and he's like very nice to her, but he doesn't believe in her. And then it's like Xaden is sort of like outwardly horrible to her.
Yeah, very blunt
but
as well.
also is like, okay, I guess I will train you so that you don't die,
There's a great
bitch. And you're like, well,
There's a great quote. There's a good quote to kind of sum up how Xaden sees her, especially in comparison to Dane. And when others are quick to stand in front of me, Xaden always stands at my side, trusting me to hold my own.
oh,
You're like, slay.
slay.
So yeah, so that's the kind of setup. That's the main kind of points we're dealing with, as well as like just general war, general trials, like deathly trials at kind of every turn. Like so many people die, and I'm like, how did she not die?
She definitely would have died. If she wasn't the main character, she'd be dead as
Yeah.
But I sort of dead as but I guess the sort of point of it is that she's not necessarily like the most physically strong person, but she's quite mentally strong, or very mentally strong. And she sort of always says that because she lives her whole life in pain, because she's always dislocating one thing or another. Well, she is.
I know, but I'm like,
Something's always dislocated, I know.
can relate.
That she's kind of like the extreme levels of pain that they're all experiencing because they're all breaking stuff, and they like, part of one of the trials is they all just have to like fight each other and beat each other up all the time, is that she's kind of like, it's fine,
This is what's happening.
I can
all the
like
time.
mentally talk myself through this situation because I've been doing that for my whole life,
And from
which is
like,
interesting.
which is true.
Yeah.
One of the reasons I love this book so much, and we'll get into the nitty gritty in a minute, but what I would say just quickly about her and that aspect of her and her like health is that I was like, slay. I recognized so many aspects of it. I have hypermobility, which is like quite closely linked to EDS, and that thing of her being like, well, I'm in pain all the time, so this doesn't do anything, is like so spot on when people were like try and be like, oh, what's your pain scale on a 1 to 10? And I'll be like, an 8. And they were like, if you were an 8, you wouldn't be here. And I'm like, no, I'm at like a 7 every day. So like, this is not anything different. I can still go to work at your 8, I can still go to work and have a normal day, sort of thing. Like, I don't need to go to A&E when others would if they were in the pain that I was in. So I was like, oh my God, like, that was just really cool. And like, the kind of the way that you have to adapt and the way you have to like use other skills to kind of boost the physical pain that you're in, not boost it, like boost yourself past the physical pain that you're in. So like the mental resilience and stuff, and the mental like pushing through, like, I can keep going because I'm in pain. I'm not saying I'm out there like doing all this physical stuff that she's doing,
running the gauntlet.
Yeah, I'm not like running up death slides or whatever she's doing, but like I was like, yeah, that's really true for what a lot of people with long-term chronic health conditions and chronic pain in particular deal with. And I was like, slay. I understand it as a plot point, but I'm also like, it's such a good way of showing it. So I really liked that.
I agree. And I think it's just an interesting twist on what otherwise would be like a pretty regular fantasy book with a bit of smut in it.
Yeah, for sure. Like, she has to be wily.
Like, yeah, that's kind of the thing. I mean, I guess, we're like, she probably should be dead. So to even get to the first day of being in the college, they have to basically like walk across this like small piece of wall, and like
a parapet, they call it.
The parapet. Although
a parapet is like the rim of a castle.
It's the up and down chunky bit, so I don't really understand.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's like, I have to do these like particular things, and like her sister gives her like a good pair of boots and stuff.
Yeah.
And then they do all these things where she, like I said, they're like fighting and stuff. But because she used to be a scribe, she knows loads of stuff about like poison and everything. So she basically like poisons all of her opponents, so she doesn't really have to fight them.
Yeah.
Or when she does fight them, they're like much weaker.
Yeah.
As she builds her own strength. So it's not like she doesn't get stronger because she does. But like, she's like, while I'm doing that, let me use my like brains, my smarts, my book smarts to like actually help myself.
I just love her because I think she's such a idiot. Like, she simultaneously has so many thoughts and no thoughts. Like, she's quite reckless quite a lot of the time.
Massively.
And she just says like these crazy things, and you see we're in her inner monologue the entire time, and it's like, calm down, are you all right? Because she's just like one way, another way, having all of these thoughts, so horny all the time. Like, I would say she's the horniest protagonist I can think of.
But I'm like, it's so interesting because there's quite a lot of casual mentions of sex, because they're all supposed to be like 19, 20, 21.
She's 20, yeah.
Yeah, so like 20, 21, 22.
Yeah.
It's like, everybody knows that like first years don't second years and blah, blah, but like everybody knows that everybody already does that, and like all this shit. It's quite weird. It's quite jarring, I think, to read it.
I think it's really jarring. I think it's really like bizarre because the stakes are really high at points,
and they are all, when I tell you, they are all dying.
Yeah, so many people are dying, and the stakes,
just like falling to their death. The cadets are just killing each other, like, and they're encouraged to kill each other and shit like that, and you're just kind of like, and and the stakes are really high. And so like, there's one scene in particular, and like, I'll come back to it as a plot point because it's great. But like, there's this one scene where someone is being called out for like breaking a rule, and that in this college, that means you will be executed for this rule break. And everyone's like, they're like, we need to bring up this person to the front, and they're just like to each other, oh, do you reckon it's because they got caught shagging next door, like blah blah blah. And it's like paragraphs long of them being like, no, because he's shagging her and she's shagging him. It just goes on and on and on. And I'm like, do you know someone's about to be executed? But it's because they're all so desensitized to it.
Like, but then they're not, because then she's
like,
no, don't stop. And you're like, oh my God, you were literally had a boner 2 seconds ago. And like, it is quite like, it's really fun at points. The whole book is like a good romp. It's a good laugh. Like, it's like,
it is.
But some points I'm like, stop trying to write just like a university romance book.
Yeah, because it's like, it's quite like teeny at some
It's
points.
like quite YA at
and it's
points.
quite YA, and it's quite like the language they're using. At one point, she's like, I was, and I think this is an Iron Flame, but it still counts. Like, she's like something, fun times, and I was like, no. There's dragons here. People are dying. You guys are not saying fun times. You don't like. I'm pretty sure that's like a thing from the internet, and they're always like, oh, my life, like blah blah.
Yeah.
She's always like, oh, my life, and I'm just like,
It's like
people are dying, Violet.
Yeah. But speaking of, when you say that, when they're like my life or like fun times, or when they shag in her room and they're breaking everything and it's crazy, she's like, they start and she's like up on a desk, and it's really funny because they're like talking about how hot it is, and then she's just like, but this position is shit, like verbatim, this position is shit, and I'm like, okay, you know, just like, I'm really out of it. So it's like, it is really fun in the sense of like, I think one of the reasons why it was so enjoyable is because like she feels like a young adult. She feels like a real,
and there's loads of them, and they're all
old.
chatting, and they're all like telling each other off, and they're all being like, this person's shagging, that person's shagging. Like, it gives like
it's like Cruel Prince.
well, no, I was gonna say it's like giving like Icebreaker.
Yeah,
Like,
in terms of
around
like,
each other, and they're all doing sport, dragon riding.
it's just like Icebreaker.
It's just like Icebreaker.
They're all dressing as Gru and the Minions.
It's just like Icebreaker. But then at the same time, against this backdrop of like war, everyone's dying, who's telling the truth, everyone's lying to each other, like complete deception, like a weird dystopian government, and it's like nobody knows what's happening, all this shit, and then they'll just be like, Rhiannon peeks her head out of the door, and then so-and-so from
and her
third
hair
wing,
is all tasseled,
and I'm like, Rhiannon, and I'm just like, Violet.
It's literally like they have sex and someone knocks on Zayden's door and he's like, what is it now? I'm not leaving this room for the next 24 hours. And then like Garrick opens the door and he's like, we're under attack. And you're like, oh.
He's like, someone better be dead. And Garrick's like, yeah, well, quite a lot of people are dead, actually.
Garrick's like, 45 people have died already. See you out there. Like, it's just like,
Can I give you just a line from Iron Flame that I was like, for fuck's sake. So at the end of Fourth Wing, before the denouement happens at the end, right?
The what?
The denouement.
What's that?
It means like the final like piece of action.
You're posh.
They're having sex and Zayden, do you know how many things have happened since you guys were doing that? Do you know how many people have discovered that their brother they thought was dead is actually alive?
You know who died? You're not paying respects to Liam. I cried so much.
I was like, this is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Why would you? Anyway. And that's the kind of thing that she's doing. Just where we left off. And I was like, people are dead. Everyone's dead, Zayden. And they're like, God, I'm so horny.
They're so horny.
There's lightning outside.
And I kind of, it makes the build up quite good.
Oh, the build up's insane.
Because like,
I'll say it
because
for you.
she wants it. She
so
wants to fuck him
much.
so badly that, and he is like so hot. The way she describes him.
Oh baby,
he's fit. So because she is quite outwardly being like, oh God, I want to and I want to fuck him, but she's also just quite like, oh God, she says at points like, God, I really need to get laid, and you're like, Violet, come on.
This is the
You're
thing.
trying to bond with a dragon.
Like, she'll be like, in 2 weeks it's the threshing, and the threshing is where like all the cadets that have made it through get to like go to this like this
field of dragons.
and then all the dragons will be there, and then the dragons basically like sniff them and then decide that they want which one they want, and then it's like, if you don't bond, either you come back and you repeat first year, or the dragon will kill you and burn you to death. When you're like, and when I say burn you to death, I mean like burn you to the point where you're like a pile of ash.
Yeah.
It's disgusting. And she's like, 2 weeks until the threshing, but all I can think about is how much I need to have sex. And I'm just like, Violet, I just think if it were me, I would be like, the anxiety that I'm going to die. I've never been less horny in my
it's like
life.
nature's antidepressant.
Although maybe if Zayden was there, I would be like, I can overlook
God,
this.
yeah, he's so hot. Yeah, the way
Just being like, just smouldering and being like, hey you.
because
I
it
hate
is
you,
like
and I'm
as
like,
soon as she like, so when she first gets there, her sister says to her,
When they're at the parapet.
her sister says to her before she goes, he will want to kill you.
Oh yeah, I forgot
Go to Dane. Dane will protect you. Xaden Rierson will want to kill you, and he's
because his dad killed your brother, and
Yeah.
your mum killed his dad.
And you're allowed to kill each other.
Lest we forget.
The only thing is that you're not allowed to kill people in your wing, in your squadron.
So she's like, get yourself into his wing, and then he can't kill you.
Yeah, and because Dane is under Xaden.
Dane's there. Dane will protect you in the wing because you guys get to hang out as a wing. And then, if you get in Xaden's, he won't kill you.
He's not allowed to kill you. But yeah, so she's like, stay away from Xaden. She's like, yeah, okay, I'll stay away from him. He's probably ugly anyway.
He sounds like he's probably going to be really
like
ugly. And Mira's like, oh, okay, bitch.
She's like, just you. You horny devil.
You'll see.
He's like, you think you're horny now? Wait till you see Xaden.
She's at the parapet, like, I've got to make it across because otherwise I'll never get shagged.
But literally,
because I'll be dead.
As soon as she sees him, she's like, bone up.
Bitch. It's unfortunate that he wants to kill me because he's so fit.
And also, it's like, whilst she's crossing the parapet, Jack, her like arch nemesis in this book, who's like one of the other cadets who just hates her because of her mum, I don't really understand, is like chasing her across the parapet. He's literally like, I'm gonna get you, like chasing her across the parapet because he's trying to kill her. And then when she gets over the parapet, she like grabs a knife and she like goes up to him and like puts the knife against his balls. And it's like something like, you don't know the half of it, honey. Like, she's really like sassy. And I'm like,
femme fatale.
I'm like, Violet, you're meant to be like laying low, remember? Mira said lay low. And she's like, gets her knife out and puts up against someone's balls on day one.
Because they're also like, because you're General Sorrengail's daughter, you will be like a target for, like, people will want to kill you.
Yeah, and they do.
She gets attacked so much.
But then, okay, so she's got the knife against his balls. And she's like, you think you can kill me? Just you wait and see, honey.
I'll cut your balls off. And he's like, yeah, fucking do it, bitch.
And then she spins around. That's Xaden.
It must be because he's tall.
She's like, that's Xaden. That's how I pictured it.
She's wearing sunglasses.
She's wearing sunnies on the parapet.
And they're like, take your sunglasses off. And she's like,
that's Xaden. He's tall, with wind-blown black hair and dark brows. The line of his jaw is strong and covered by warm, tawny skin and dark stubble. And when he folds his arms across his torso, the muscles in his chest and arms ripple, moving in a way that makes me swallow. And his eyes, ... His eyes are the shade of gold flecked onyx. The contrast is startling, jaw-dropping even. Everything about him is. His features are so harsh that they look carved, and yet they're astonishingly perfect. Like an artist worked a lifetime sculpting him. At least a year of that was spent on his mouth. And I was like, first of all, slay. Second of all, you're holding up the line on the parapet.
Can you just jump down?
Can you just get down? Because there are so many people. It's like backlogged behind it because she's like, who is that?
Is that Xaden I see over there?
Mira was right. He's hot.
He's puts the sunglasses back up.
She is just like enamored by him. Like there's no time past that for her to worry really about him killing her, because every time he talks to her or is near her, she's like, oh my god. She's literally like, oh my
and the vibe is she's kind of like, I'm gonna go and talk to him and he might kill me, but like
it's worth it.
It will be worth it because we might also have sex.
Yeah.
And I'm just saying, you guys, think about that and you're like, well, yeah, fair enough, I agree.
Yeah. And so like the build up is so strong, not really because they have loads and loads of really like sexy interactions, but because
not at all, really.
She is so like, imagine what having sex with him would be like. That would be great. Oh my god. So you're getting that in your head because she's all but saying to the reader, guys, imagine what having sex with him would be like. So then you're like, yes, I would love to read that, please, because yes, slay. And
I'm imagining he's very fit.
Yeah, because he's really fit in my head, like so fit. There are bits though as well where I'm like you said, of when they have like those interactions where she's like, I might end up dead, but also I might have, so it's fine. Of like when they're doing sparring on the mat, and he like really slowly disarms her, but is also telling her how to like not get killed, and
he's basically like lying on top of her, and he's basically like just. If you really fancied someone and then you were wrestling, that's a sleigh.
Right?
And that's all I can say on that, really.
I don't want my boyfriend to wrestle me.
That's
though.
all I can say on that.
Please. I understand the sexiness of this situation now, but that's not like, I'm not like, Dan, let's clear the living room. Let's
Put the mat down.
let's wrestle. I'm in one of those unitards and the straps like just cover my nipples.
Sexy.
It's a big build up, and you kind of forget the plot of like the political stuff that's going on because you're so like, because she's so horny all the time that like she's not taking in a lot of information.
But then also there's sort of like, and now we're in battle brief or whatever, and then or whatever. I said like I wasn't so invested, and she's like, I know everything because I used to be a scribe, and I think it's because I know everyone. Everyone hates me.
Yeah, because she's kind of like she's
like, know-it-all.
She's a know-it-all. She's a bit of a teacher's pet, but also like the teachers want to hate her, but they can't because she knows everything, and like the students are kind of like, you're such a f***ing kiss ass, but also she's like the main guy, like they're basically the coolest kid on campus.
Well, but like before that, because they don't. This is an important
long.
note. If you're gonna read this, they don't so long. And what I would say,
they kiss at page 278 is when they kiss,
and it's the 500-page
great
book.
line, and they shag at about 372. 372 is when we get, and then it's like a really long sex scene.
Really long sex scene.
Slay.
But you're
a bit like out of left field because I've just been in political war mode the whole time.
That's exactly what I was going
to say. And then I've got a full like Elsie Silver-esque smut scene.
She says the word.
She says the word. I was like, she says the word. Stop saying the word. Why is the word this book?
It's like I was actually very invested in the world build, the politics, the war, the dragons, etc. So then when they kiss and then when they for the first time, you're like, oh shit, I forgot they were going to have sex. I forgot this is actually a horny book because I was so invested in the fact that she has in fact bonded two dragons.
And she's the first person ever to do that or something.
Yeah, something stupid. And I'm like, there can't be this many special things about her. Do you know what I mean?
She's not like other girls.
She's
in every way
really
possible.
in any way. So you do forget, and but then the undertones are horny.
The undertones are horny, and then you can't have all the romantic scenes, all the kissing, sex scenes are heavily tied into the politics and to the law as well. But so then it's even more so like when she says the word, I'm like, but she's also, her powers are coming out right now. And I'm like, we've got an important plot point going on here.
And you are saying he's grinding against
yeah.
And you're like,
this position is shit. Oh, guys, my powers are hit. Like, it's like a lot. Like, it's quite jarring. It's quite like, when you get to the smut, it's like, oh, what hat do I have on here then?
Because it's like, obviously, there is a decent amount of plot, and as we've just
been saying,
of plot. She's thinking about him a lot. But at the same time, she's also like doing my war brief, going to the going to the gauntlet, practicing on the gauntlet. Oh, so and so's dead. Oh, so and so's dead. Oh, am I going to bond with a dragon? Oh, yes, I've saved someone's life. So now I'm bonded with two dragons.
I've saved a dragon's life.
So when this sex eventually happens, you are like I said, you're just truly like, oh, I forgot this is where we were going to get to.
I kind of disagree because I think I disagree because I think when loads of stuff is happening, that's when the sentences come out of. She'll be like, oh God, because she's got two dragons, she gets lots of powers. So the first dragon, Andana, is a baby dragon as well. So her power through Andana is Andana can freeze time, which comes in very useful, I must say. But when she does it for the first time, when Andana uses that power for the first time, she then goes to sleep for like a week because it's completely drained her of power.
Tired.
She's tired.
She's
and
a
I get
baby.
That. And that's quite stressful. And everyone's like, oh my God, is Andana going to be okay? Like, they're all really stressed about this dragon and all this war is happening.
Oh, well, she doesn't tell anyone about the stopping time for ages, though.
Tells Zayden.
Oh, okay.
And they're stressed together. And then she's like, God, I need to get laid. So it's like these really stressful things are happening. And it's like when they are doing the sparring, even if she's like sparring with Imogen every now and then, she'll be like, she's like, God, I really need to get laid. I'm like, someone get the woman a vibrator.
She's like, I'm sparring and I'm looking over at Zayden across the room and he's got his shirt off and he's kind of glancing at me. But he's pretending he's not glancing at me, but I'm just like sort of slowly poisoning someone and then he's looking at me like, I love you. And I'm like, oh.
So when Violet goes to the threshing, which is when you hopefully a dragon picks you to bond with.
Yeah.
She goes to the threshing. She sees Jack and his posse of friends. Basically, they spotted Andana, and like, that's a weak ass dragon, and we don't want anything weak in our squad, because basically that's why they're all allowed to kill each other, because it's like, let's get rid of the weak ones. So
and Andana is a metaphor for Violet.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Genius.
Thank you.
And so Jack and his group of friends are like, oh, let's go and kill that dragon. And then other dragons will be like, wow, they're so strong. Let's bond with them. Rah, rah, rah. Violet sees this and goes over and tries to like warn Andana. And Dana's like, I'm a dragon. What are you talking about? And
I'm just a baby dragon.
I'm just here chilling. I like your hair. And then Xaden isn't allowed to step in at all.
Because he's the wing leader.
He's the wing leader. And any of that is like manipulating the threshing or something. So Violet is like standing off with these three guys, and she's trying to protect Andana. And then H0rny, a dragon. And the biggest, oldest dragon who has sniffed at every human. He's been at the threshing for years and years and years and never bonded with anyone.
Yeah, because his last rider died, or no?
I think so, yeah. No, I think that's right.
But because...
Scale.
Is it Scale?
No, it's like Skagale or something. I don't know.
Her rider died, so I don't know whether H0rny has actually ever had a rider. But either way, he's like the biggest and ever, and he's a black dragon, and that's like really rare.
And he's the biggest, baddest dragon.
And they're like super powerful. And obviously it's like she's the smallest and he's the biggest. Go figure.
Yeah, and he's like, human, you saved the dragon when you did not have to. I am bonded with you. You now.
Saved the baby dragon, and she's like, is that your baby? And he's like, no. Don't be gross. Don't be disgusting.
You think I'd give birth to that little rat? You're joking. Look at me. I'm big and sexy.
I can't believe we forgot to mention this so far.
I know.
Biggest plot point of the
So H0rny watches that. He bonds with Violet. And Dana is also like, yeah, me too. I'm going to bond with Violet. And Xaden...
Yeah, I love Violet.
And they get back from the threshing. Dane kisses her when she lands.
Yes.
And Xaden's like... Xaden goes over and is like pissed off and is like, blah, blah, blah.
Don't touch her.
And everyone's like, oh my gosh, is this it? Does Xaden love Violet? Yes. No. But no, at this point, he's like, ha ha ha, you're in for it now, Violet babe, because guess whose wife your dragon is. Well,
guess whose wife your dragon is. Guess who's the wife of your dragon?
Yeah. Guess who's the wife of your dragon? My dragon. Scale.
I think Scale.
Scale. It's got a G in it. We're going to go with Scale.
Scale. It's like Scale, but Scale.
Scale. Like Gale with an S, not Scale with a C. Gale. Scale.
Like you were saying Scale, but you're like Dutch.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking. Scale.
Scale.
Anyway.
Scale.
So Scale and H0rny are bonded.
A bonded pair.
A mated pair.
Yeah.
So they cannot be apart for more than 3 days. So...
Oh, it's sorry, no. I'm just, everything you're saying I'm remembering, and I'm like, oh yeah. Oh, a classic bit.
So... Yeah, so that means because Scale and H0rny can't be apart for more than 3 days, and you cannot be apart from your dragon either, that Xaden and Violet cannot be apart for more than 3 days. And you're like...
How convenient.
How convenient. A little bit of force proximity in there too. I see you. I see what you're trying to do.
Oh my God.
So, yeah. And because they're bonded, and the way that you communicate with your dragon is telepathically, you're linked through the brains. And so then one day, Violet is just like, it's so funny. I've got to get it. Something within me expands, somehow too big for my own body, too vast to be contained, and pain sears every nerve as I crack open. Da-da-da-da-da. This is your power, isn't it? I asked H0rny, but he doesn't answer. And Dana, there's only silence.
Silence.
So she thinks she's getting her power.
Signet.
Her signet from H0rny.
Which is like their one particular... They can all do like basically like basic magic or whatever they call it. Which is like, you know, open stuff and close stuff and whatever. Which is from the dragon, but then they all have like an individual power. So Xaden's, am I saying this? Xaden's is shadow like wielding.
Yeah.
Hers is she's a lightning wielder. Her friend Rhiannon can like summon stuff to her. And then like some of them have if you can read minds, they instantly kill you.
Yeah.
Insane.
Yeah.
And then some of them have like confidential or like secret ones. I can't remember what the word is for it. Like where they don't reveal them.
Like Dane.
And Dane. Yeah. And it turns out Dane's is that he can
touch people and like see their memories.
Which comes in very useful
for Dane.
Later in the book.
She bursts out her room. She's like, I have to tell Rhiannon that I've got my power. And Liam is just hanging out outside her door because Xaden has basically demanded that Liam be her bodyguard. So Liam is also one of the rebel children, but he's also a first year with Violet, and I love him. Oh shit, this is ... lust.
I love that she was like, it was so painful. I was really confused, and then I was like, oh, it's lust.
Oh, it's lust. I debate rubbing up against him like a cat in heat while demanding he appease this unimaginable ache. And I'm like, gross.
Violet.
Actually, like, shut up. What?
She's like weaving around his legs.
She's like, I'm going to rub up against you like a cat in heat.
Yeah.
Okay. And then she goes, but he's not who you really want. He's not Xaden. So she's like, I've got to get some air. I'm so horny. I've got to get air. And she goes outside.
I'm so horny. I've actually got to get air. Yeah, coincidentally, Xaden's actually out there.
Xaden's outside.
And he's smoking weed.
Churam, which is weed. So basically, Ten and Scale are off somewhere.
Yeah.
Which, because they are telepathically linked to their dragons, that means that Violet and Xaden are really horny because they are feeling the horniness that their dragons are feeling. And because their dragons are a bonded pair, it's like super intense. So really, really intense. So Xaden's getting high basically to try and like get this out because he's like, I won't be able to sleep.
It's crazy, by the way.
It's crazy. And it's like,
it's insane.
and so you're both like, okay, these...
When you were saying that, I was just sat here so deeply thinking about how good a plot device I think that is, because I was just like, it forces them into the situation where they're just there and they're both so horny and they're like this external, like this bizarre, like external horniness that's being like forced upon me, and they're just like with each other, and and we're page 275, and like the lust between them has been building and building, but also the hate and like the fact that he's like, stay the away from me, but also like, can you just stay alive, please? And like all this stuff.
I love that to me throughout the whole thing of like, stay the away from me, but also please stay alive. I was like, that's a great vibe from a fantasy main male character. Stay the away from me, but also I will kill myself if you die.
Well, because if you die, if you're bonded to a dragon and you die, or vice versa, you're bonded to a dragon and the dragon dies, there's like quite a high chance
that you will also die.
And now Xaden's basically like, because you're bonded to Ten and Ten's bonded to Scale and Scale's bonded to me, if you die, there's quite a high chance that I will die, because all four of us will die.
Yeah.
Because if Ten dies, then Scale will die, and then
I will die, and then Violet will die. But so it's also like,
he's like, you do have to stay alive, and that's why I'm telling you to stay alive, and it's definitely not because I'm in love with you.
Yeah. So then it's a really good thing of he's being like, because of all of this dragon bullshit, okay, you need to stay alive, and for no other reason, and don't look at me, put your tits away, I fancy you so much, oh my god.
And he's like, and so that you stay alive, I am going to train you, but we are going to do the arm's length, but I will ground
if
it's just
if you're
like,
okay with that.
When I tell you the vibe
is exquisite. It's so good. It's like this bit now, he basically is like,
so they're outside,
she's like, teach me how to block it out. Ask me nicely. He leans closer. Have you always been this tall? I blurt the first thing that comes into mind, and I'm like, that is something I would do. If someone fits at something like that to me, I'd be like, oh my god, you're so tall.
Who's been this tall? I didn't know you wore glasses.
And he goes,
yeah.
Oh my god.
Don't even talk to me.
Is that my thing? That is so... I didn't know you wore glasses coded. Slay.
I didn't know you wore glasses.
I didn't know you wore glasses. A travesty that they cut that out of the film.
I know.
Devastating.
Sorry, we're referencing Red, White and Royal Blue if you don't know.
Yeah. And so then he's like, trains her, she can shield, and he's like, I've never seen anyone do it that quick. You're so impressive, blah, 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 blah.
I mean, so...
You're like, oh my god, again, you're so talented,
One of
Violet.
my least favourite things about this is that she is... I was going to say pick me, but that's not what I mean.
No,
she's just like special.
Yeah, she's good at like, everything straight away.
And you're just a bit like... And Xaden really enables that in the sense that he's like, Violet, you're just amazing and no one does it like you, babe. And you're just kind of like, well, okay.
Xaden studies me with an intensity that makes me sway towards him. You are astonishing.
That's what I'm saying.
That's what I'm saying.
But also, like, if you said that to me, I'd be like, yes, I am, bitch. Would you like to... I sort of regret saying that, but also I'm like...
I just love you. You are astonishing. Correct.
Correct.
So after that, he's like holding her face for some reason, and we get to the most Wattpaddy of Wattpad build up to a kiss scene ever.
Yeah.
But I was feral for it. I absolutely screamed my little head off when this scene happened. Damn it, touching you was a bad idea. The worst. He groans and my core melts at the sound. Kissing you would be a cataclysmic mistake. Calamitous. I can't read, but I'm like, slay! I'm like, this is so sexy, I don't know how to pronounce any of these words. This is everything I should run from, yet denying the primal attraction I feel is completely and utterly impossible. We'll both regret it. Naturally, I whisper. But knowing I'll regret it doesn't stop me from wanting it. Wanting him, regretting is a problem for future Violet. It.
She said,
no, he said it.
Oh, he said
it. We'll both regret it, naturally.
This is the thing, is he's like, it would be like absolutely cataclysmic to kiss you. And then he's like, nah.
No, but you know that he's like, kissing you would be a cataclysmic mistake. He's not like, this would be if I did this would be cataclysmic. He's like leaning into her, being like,
what would you
this
fucking...
would be
Ew, don't touch me. Ew. Why is your hand so cold?
I can't thermoregulate.
Aww.
Violet would be the same.
They're just
Violet would be the
already
same.
so hot.
They're either boiling hot or freezing cold, no in between. This is hypermobility. This is something Violet would probably... He'd do that too. She does that and he's like, ew,
so cold. Disgusting.
Do you know what I mean? He's going...
I was just going to say,
this would be a cataclysmic...
Yeah, I'm like, what would you give for someone to be like, kissing you would be a fucking cataclysmic mistake. So, okay. And you're just like...
Woo! 1 second he's out of reach and the next his mouth is on mine, hot and insistent.
Hot.
I'm hot. I'm trapped between the immovable stone of the wall and the hard lines of Xaden's body. And there's nowhere else I'd rather be.
Nowhere else I'd rather be.
Me too. And then, yeah, they are dry humping against the wall. And then, bit of plot though, is what I mean. Plot for the smart. A flash of light burns behind my closed eyes, followed by the boom of thunder. Thunder snow isn't uncommon around here, but damn does it summarise how this feels, wild and out of control.
What's thunder snow?
Is
that a made up thing?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, right.
But then he breaks the kiss with a sharp gasp, his brow furrowing with something akin to panic before he slams his eyes shut. And so you're like, what's just happened? And I'll tell you what has just happened. Bit of a spoiler for you, is that 10 the dragon is 10 the dragon is off somewhere so hard that he has released his powers to Violet, and she is a lightning wielder,
and she's like the second lightning wielder ever in the world, of course,
because she's special.
But what I would say is...
But then again...
Because he doesn't really acknowledge it here.
He knows, though.
I was like, I don't really know what's going on. I don't care.
Yeah.
Horny.
Yeah.
No more thought. And then later she's like, oh, I'm wielding lightning. And I was like, oh, since when? And then he's like, I knew it the first time we kissed. And I was like, oh, Xaden could have told me.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Prick.
What was going on?
What are you hiding? Yeah.
Don't hide things from me, Xaden.
Yeah.
Classic.
But again, this chapter ends when Xaden's then like, go away, because this isn't your want.
Go away.
Have some mercy on me, because this is because of the dragon, because you want it.
And I was like, no, Xaden, shut the up, because she's been wanting this for ages.
For 280 pages.
She just needed to was 10 to get horny. 10 to get horny before she had the confidence to do anything.
But then he ends the chapter just ends. So you have all of that, and she's like, oh my god, like, what's going on with my dragons and with Xaden and Aurora? Tomorrow is gonna suck. And you're like, Rebecca.
And this is the thing where you're like, oh, I'm back to the teen movie.
Yeah. I love him. And I'm like, she's so annoying, but I'm also like, get it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Like, it took me a very long time to warm to her. And by the end of the book, I was like, all right, Violet, like, pop off then. If you must still pop off, then please do.
I think she's such a idiot all the time.
Yeah, she really is.
So then they shag in a bit, and then they only shag twice in this book. And the second time they shag...
Which, by the way, I was like...
Come on, guys.
Is that it?
Yeah.
It's a 500-page book.
Yeah.
2 sex scenes.
I know.
And not even like a bit of a scene with no sex.
But you do have the driving on the wrestling mat.
But
no one...
really.
So does it count? The next time they shag, the build up from that is that she's fully got her powers now, and she lightning wields really hard and brings down a mountain that kills Jack. And you're like, slay, because he's a prick. So that's the first person she kills. So she's really like upset about it. And she's like, I just need something to distract me. So and then the second time after like a ball that their general has thrown to celebrate the end of the rebellion. So Zayden's always like, I'm not going to that. I've got 106 whip scars on my back and you killed my dad.
Yeah.
Da da da. So he's out sitting on the parapet, but Violet has to go because it's her mum organising it. And she walks out onto the parapet, just storms out to it in heels. And I'm like, you're a moron. Your sister gave you special boots to wear for this parapet. Yeah. But the power of love is pushing her there.
No, it's because she's come so far.
But doesn't mean you just walk out on a parapet.
So strong, she's so balanced, all these things, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, to be honest though, I that because he was like, turn around.
Yeah.
I'm going to be so pissed off if you die, actually.
Yeah.
Because if you've come out, I'm having my depression time thinking about how my dad is dead on the parapet. And which I must be allowed to have because he is dead and your mum did kill him, let's not forget. And if you've come out here to talk to me and then you slip off, one, I won't save you, and two, I'll be pissed off.
Yeah.
And you're just, and I was like...
No, but baby girl, were you not understanding? Me. Yeah, you. So what I'm saying in this situation is that, yes, he's brilliant. I love him.
Oh, right.
But she's a moron.
Well, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I love it for the setup of the scene, for Xaden turning around. And again, you're like, yes, Shadow Daddy. What can I do for you, sir, please?
How can I help you?
How can I help you in this moment? Does it involve sex? So embarrassing. Violet is a moron.
Yeah, and I mean, like, this is really you would just sort of stand at the end and be like, Xaden,
babe, do you want to have sex?
Babe, you're right.
I love you very much.
Do you want to just come back for a second? We can talk about how you feel.
You're right. Is it because my mum's here? My mum who killed your dad?
You remember my mum, don't you? She killed your dad.
You remember my mum from when she branded you as a child of the rebellion. Do you remember
the 107 scars. You remember my mum from that? Yeah, she is
blonde
here.
hair, plait. Yeah, she's here. Do you want to talk about it? He's like, oh.
He's like, go home. And she's like, okay, I'm coming out then, babe.
Onto the parapet, I go.
The parapet.
And so yes, it's great that he gets to turn around and be like, get back there, you silly cow.
I mean, like, pretty much.
Xaden's like, you silly bitch, get back over there.
Turn around, you silly bitch. God. And he's like, mummy, my depression time. I must be allowed. She's annoying, but her annoyingness sets up for him to be a slay.
That's the whole book.
And actually you're really into it. What is it about him? What is it about him being like, listen, I'm in charge of you, I'm going to help you, I'm going to save your life, I'm going to make you fit and strong.
But at the same time,
I support you. Yeah, I support you. I think you're great. Like,
great.
I think you're great. What is it about? What is it about that that's just so unbelievably hot? Because it is, and I'm like, I don't want to be told what to do. Do you know? As we know,
do you know what it is? It's that I think what she's gotten right here.
Great.
I think you're great. What I think it is, that she's kind of, the balance she's got right is that, in obviously not very comparable, but like in Heartless by Elsie Silver.
Yes.
And kind of a lot of the Elsie Silver books, but especially Heartless, where Cade is really like, is quite, I'm going to tell you what to do, but stakes aren't high enough for you to be telling me what to do.
Yes.
The stakes are high enough, and you have been here longer, you're a better rider than me. And also, Violet is so dumb.
Absolutely tapped.
So smart, and so dumb at the same time, which I relate to. She needs to be told what to do.
When you said about the stakes, I'm like, yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Like when we're just like at the country farm, why are you telling me what to do?
Yeah.
What do I need to know?
Yeah.
I don't. But like in this situation, and I think unfortunately I finally understand what the girlies have been talking about, like with ACOTAR and with these fantasy books where these men like I'm doing whatever whatever it takes to keep you alive, because in this world, everyone's dying. And I was like, oh my God, they actually are though.
Yeah.
This isn't like Chestnut Springs where no one's dead.
No one's dead. So Kate, can you pipe down?
So why are you telling me what to do? I'm just like in the kitchen. This, I'm like,
tell me what to do because I don't want to die.
But then at the same time, it is that mix of he's like, but I do believe in you and I do believe you can do it.
Yeah. I don't want any man to tell me what to do.
No.
In any situation. But I've never been in this situation. And I can imagine if I walked onto the parapet in my heels and Xaden turned around to me and was like fearing for my life, I would be so attracted to him.
Also, there is just something about sometimes you're like, sometimes I just want to act like a silly bitch and have someone be like, stop being a silly bitch. And you're like, you know what?
You're right.
Fair enough.
Fair enough.
Only 0.0001% of the time. But there's an occasional occasion where you're like, sometimes they tell you to stop acting out and you're like, okay,
sure,
I will. And actually I'm like, don't quote me on that.
No one tell Ellen's boyfriend that she said that, okay?
Pinky promise.
Everyone.
Between everyone.
We're all friends here.
On average, about 75 of us. No one tell him.
No one
Thank you.
She laced this book with crack. She laced Xaden with crack. Do you know what I'm worried about, though?
Yeah,
it's because everyone says, because this book is going to be a 5-book series, yeah?
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
With the 2 of them in every one?
With her story is what we believe. And I'm concerned. I'm scared that Xaden will die.
Oh, my God.
And she'll have to fall in love with someone else. Or famously. Well, everyone actually keeps saying famously. And then I'm like, that's not true.
Famously what?
That the love interest in the first one turns into a villain. Or isn't the one she ends up with.
According to what?
Books.
Akatar? Some books.
Some books
that somebody wrote. Interesting. I hope not. Because so at the end of book...
They're going to spend a whole book apart, I reckon, though.
Oh. At the end of book 1, she's like, we can't be together because...
Yeah.
Oh, God. We've skipped ahead a lot here. But general summary. At the end of book 1, she discovers some information about what's been happening with Nevada. That's like, it's like not actually true. And they've been being told a lot of propaganda, blah, 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 at the War College. Xaden ends up taking her to this place, and that's when she finds out that her brother's actually not dead, her brother's alive. But basically, she's like, I can never trust him again because he kept all of this information from me. And you're like, okay, fair enough.
But also, he's really sexy.
So it's quite hard because I am in love with him. And she's like, I'm in love with him, I'm in love with him, I'm in love with him. And in book 2, he's trying to win her back.
Please don't spoil it.
But I'm not going to say anything else. But the way he's doing it is, I was like, oh,
I'm excited.
Just the words.
The words
that he says to her. And she's like,
well, maybe you shouldn't have lied. Well, I can just imagine her.
She's like, maybe you shouldn't have just like hidden that my brother was dead. And he was like, what was I supposed to do?
Yeah, this is what I mean when I'm like, she's really annoying.
Know each other.
Yeah, she's annoying. I can picture her being annoying in this circumstances as well.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited, but I'm also like, Violet, stop being so annoying. God, he's such a great character, isn't he? He's so good.
He's just like so multi-layered. There's a bit that I've just
so deep.
There's a bit that I've just read that you're going to be like, oh,
I'm so excited.
Guarantee it.
Should we do some smut?
So what I think about the actual smut.
Tessa Bailey just needs to write a book about telepathy, so they can do.
Tessa Bailey, spin the wheel.
Another one. Tessa, I've got a great idea for you. Why don't you do telepathy and spin the wheel? A cellist.
Where did you get that from? That is so funny.
Thank you. I love it when you think I'm funny.
You're ridiculous. That's so funny.
His eyes flare and then he kisses me like I'm the air he's been missing.
Oh.
But I don't know why his eyes flare again. I was like, slay. I would hate that in any other book, but I'm just like, I don't know, the thought of him being like, okay, yeah, it's like hot because he's so hot.
He's like, so he's like kind of like this, and then he's like,
oh yeah, he's just kind of like, I don't know, like a.
No, you just lifted your top eyelid.
Yeah, of like if they're like, he's just looking at her like,
yeah,
bit hooded eyes because you know that it's sexy time.
Yeah, I'm like, his eyes mostly shut.
Yeah, and then he's like, but he's not like. She's like, stop being so honourable and me, Zayden. That's not what's happening.
I can't steal. That's so funny.
Thank you.
Oh my god, this book's not very well written.
No, of course not.
We haven't said that yet.
Of course not. This book is badly written, I would say.
For some reason, she manages to hit the vibe nail on the head.
The vibe is excellent.
But like the writing is poor at best, I would argue. Poor at best.
Poor at best. And this is a wild thing for me to say, okay?
She's gripping me.
This is a wild thing for me to say, okay? And I would not like to be held to this in a court of law.
That's unfortunate.
You know when we were reading Punk 57 and we were like, the vibes are weird, but it's not badly written. Like, the vibes of Punk 57 were just off. But Penelope
Insane.
Douglas, they're a pretty all right writer. Whereas this, she's got the vibes, amazing. And the writing is...
And then she's like, this position is shit. And you're
Yeah.
like, no.
No.
Just be like, this position isn't working for me.
Yeah.
Is it
literally.
hard? No,
I'm like,
I've just done it.
I do feel like there are a lot of sentences in this where, like, you know, where you write something in like an essay at uni and you're like, I need to change that, so you highlight it and you go back at the end.
And you're like, oh, I can't think of anything.
Yeah, this is what she's done. There's so many bits where I'm like, she meant to come back and change that and she didn't. She forgot.
The end of that sex scene, they've done it like 3 or 4 times behind the closed door, and Garrick comes and is like, we're under attack.
You guys were under attack. So then we get to the final chunk of plot, and it's crazy. Wait, we've skipped past a whole bit of plot that I really wanted to talk about. Can I rewind?
Yeah.
Guys, everyone wants to kill her. And one night she wakes up. This is when Andana uses her time-stopping powers. Because one night Violet wakes up because she hears something clangs in her room. And she's like, what the fuck was that? And there are like 6 people in her room with knives.
So she wakes up because Ten is like yelling at her to wake up.
Of course. No,
Yeah.
you're so right. She's having a dream. And then Ten is like in the dream like, wake up! And she does. And she's like, oh
about to be
guys, what's
killed.
going on?
Yeah.
They were like, she wasn't meant to wake up. And the people were trying to kill her in her sleep. And then Ten has told Xaden, because Ten can speak to Xaden too. So Xaden is running around I imagine the castle, running, trying to get to her to help her. She is fighting off like 6 people at once. She's dislocating her shoulder, all of this, Before Xaden bursts in, Andana stops time. So she has time to move away to get a bit of a head start. Xaden bursts in, kills everyone, kills all of them there, and you're like, slay. And then the next day, it was so good. It was like bone chilling. This is when they're all in like the hall, and it's like, there's been a rule break, and they're all like, who's been, as if Violet wasn't literally being nearly murdered 5 minutes ago, and she's like, who's been shagging who then, blah blah blah. And it's one of the other like leaders, one of the other squadron like leaders, orchestrated this whole thing.
Yeah.
And it's like just such this, had chills reading it, of when they're trying to get her up to like trial her for this crime. And Dane is like shouting like, Violet, like say that he's wrong, say that he's made a mistake, like she would never do this, Amber's such a stickler for the rules just like me. Dane is like proper going like, say there's been a mistake. This is when you see like the whole like bond to the dragon and how it impacts everyone, bloody bloody blah, because the dragons then, Ten leads all the dragons so they all line up in front of her and set her on fire, and she's a pile of ash on the floor because
horrific.
Because she orchestrated this thing to kill Violet, and she's like, it's part of my duty to get rid of the weakest link, and it's like, no, you were just trying to like get ahead basically. And it's really sad because Amber's dragon is like fighting for Amber and trying to be like, no, like please don't, like all of this, and Ten like bats her away, and you see the kind of dragon bond between these two and what happens when one of them dies. I don't think her dragon dies, because it's not, if the dragon dies, the human definitely dies, but if the human dies, the dragon might die, might not. It's really sad. It's really sad, but it's such a good scene. And it's like, again, Dane being such a little like bitch of like, Violet can't stick up for herself. But yeah, I just wanted to bring that up because I just loved that scene. I just got like full chills reading it. It was when the stakes were the highest, because before that it'd been like, oh yeah, Bill, who I met yesterday, died, you know, all of these people were dying who like you didn't know, you didn't have any kind of connection to at all. They were just like, oh, another 2 people died yesterday, so you knew everyone was dying, but like no one that had, you knew particularly well. And suddenly Amber, who was a character and was really like close to Dane, did this horrible thing and then died, and it was really sad because of the dragon. So then when you come then later to the final string of plot, which is Garrick is like, there's a war going on. It's like the war games, it's like they're being graded on it. And Xaden and a bunch of the other rebel children are being sent to like a outpost. And because of the bonded dragons, Violet has to with them.
Yeah.
And people are like, okay, didn't expect Violet to be going. And you're like, what's going on here? But actually, what's going on is that the rebels are working with the other country of people and the Griffins and all of that too. Because you're like, oh shit, actually, General Sorrengail's not all that, right?
Yeah, it is General Sorrengail, but it's like a lot of the leadership is, and Dane's dad in particular, basically like are covering up what's actually happening. And the guy who's the head scribe,
yes,
Markham, they're basically covering up what's actually happening outside the borders of Nevers, which are they have this thing they're warded, which means like nothing can get in or out without like permission or whatever. And what they're saying is that the reason they have the wards is because the people of Poromil, which is the other bit of the continent, are attacking them. But what's actually happening is the people of Poromil are being attacked by the Wyverns,
of course,
and the Venins.
Yes, oh my gosh.
So at the beginning, Violet's talking about this book that her dad used to read to her, which was like a book of myths and legends from the continent. And there's this myth and legend about these like sort of race of people called Venins, who are basically like people who accepted magic into their lives to the extent that they like go like evil and corrupt. There's like this legend where they like go across the land and they like kill people with their corrupt magic. But everyone was always like, that's just like a story, that's fake, that's not a real thing. And these Venins have animals called wyverns, which are like dragons, but they only have 2 legs. So she's like, I always found that really interesting. And then she's kind of like, because she's a scribe, or was a scribe, she's like, oh, I never really saw like any trace of that in the archives. Like not even this copy of this book that my dad once gave me is actually in the archives. Because she's like, oh, I wanted to read it while I was there and I requested it and I couldn't have it from the archives or whatever. And so she's like, that's kind of crazy. And then basically when they go on this war games thing, all the rebel kids and Violet gets we haven't said about how he calls her Violence, by the way.
He calls her Violence.
Ick. They get sent to this particular place and then they realise that they're kind of like actually in a trap.
Yeah.
And they get trapped into this attack on this Poromil town by these wyverns and these venin. And Violet's like, oh my god, what? And they're real. And
why does no one back in Nevers know about this?
And Xaden's like, yeah, sorry. So like what I've actually been doing is basically making daggers out of the same material that the wards are made from and selling them to the Poromil people so that they can kill the venins, because the only thing that kills the venins is the material that's keeping our wards going. So it's basically like a massive conflict of interest. That's probably the wrong term, but like...
No, because then it's like Nevers are like, we're not going to help this, genocide that's happening next door, aren't they? That's
because we need to keep this material. If we don't keep this material, we can't keep our wards going. Yeah. If we sacrifice this material to help other people, then we're putting ourselves at risk, basically.
So then this tiny group of the rebels and Violet end up in a battle with the Venins and the Wyverns. And the Wyverns. That is when lovely Liam, who is just the golden retriever of the whole book, they are like, the battle is so intense.
Oh my god!
And you're like, they are so outnumbered, and like you are like, this is not gonna.
It's horrible.
Well.
Like you're so stressed.
Yeah, it's really stressful. And then Liam's dragon gets hit, and it's really sad. And Andana and Violet try and stop time, and they can't stop it, and it's like desperately sad. I was weeping because Liam's been like Violet's bodyguard and been next to her for like so like the second half of the whole book. He's a big like main character in the second half of the book. And Xaden, after they win the rest of the battle basically and they're able to do it, Xaden like picks up Liam and like brings him to his dragon so that they can like die together and like die in peace because they're together. And it's all like the bond again, and it's just like actually horrific. It's like actually horrific.
She gets stabbed by a poison blade.
She does.
So she is in a fight with like there's like a Venin who's kind of like the main Venin, who's like a teacher almost.
Yeah.
Who's the most powerful one, and she's in a fight with this person's on a wyvern, she's on 10, and this guy like jumps onto 10.
Yes.
And then basically like stabs with this poison knife, and then she somehow, because she's like the whole book she's been like, pain doesn't even like phase
she
me,
continues through.
She continues to fight, she kills this guy, and then they discover that like killing the Venin actually kills the wyvern. She's like, okay, now I pass out. Like, a lot of the wyvern died, most of the Venin are gone, now I pass out. And then she like comes to.
Oh, she comes to, but it's Xaden's POV, final chapter. And you're like, hello, sir.
Ugh. And I was like, is Iron Flame going to be Xaden's POV? I would love that.
No. She wakes up, days and days have passed. First is ecstatic to see Xaden, and then she remembers that he'd lied to her. So they have this big argument about how she's never going to trust him again, blah, blah, blah. Someone's knocking at the door. Someone's knocking at your door. And Xaden says, fuck, he's impatient. You have about 20 seconds to ask a question if I know him, meaning the person at the door. And she says, do you think there's any chance that we just happened to end up in the middle of a wyvern attack at the outpost? Like, was it a coincidence or was it planned by the general? And then from behind the door, that definitely wasn't an accident, little sister, he says from the doorway. I sigh and move to the side, watching Violet's eyes widen as she sees him standing in the doorway. Told you I knew better, poison masters, I tell her softly. You weren't healed, you were mended. Brennan? She stares at her brother in open-mouthed shock. Brennan just grins and opens his arms. Welcome to the revolution, Violet. I've got full body chills.
I was like,
when I tell you the end of that book, and I've said this 1,000 times to anyone who will listen to me, the ending of that book, Welcome to the Revolution, Violet, is so... There is no District 12, Katniss. Is so end of Catching Fire. Is so like, we're in for it now. Like, here we go.
Yeah. When I tell you I had to read this with my hand like this over the page, so I was so worried I was going to skip to the end, and so I was like going down line by line, like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Like, you do not see it coming.
No. It's just so like that. It's so... I know I said earlier about like complaining that it's a bit Wattpaddy almost, but the joy of that, the feel of like Hunger Games-esque 2009 dystopia fantasy vibes that this whole book gives and is summed up in that last little section is great. It's so good. It's so fun.
Like, I think Wattpad is right. That is what it gives.
Yeah.
That's part of the reason why I'm like, the writing is bad, because it does give Wattpad. But the thing about Wattpad is they did know how to do a plot twist.
You never knew what was coming.
You never knew what was going to happen.
Normally because they decided 2 seconds before writing it down.
Yeah, and they were like, there's no foreshadowing because I didn't know this was going to happen.
That's what I mean. There's no foreshadowing that Brennan's alive because she decided when she got to page 480, she was like, guys, I think...
No, who I think is maybe alive.
Brennan. I just...
It's good stuff.
I'm like almost like so impressed because this really wasn't well written, but it was so fun. Like the vibes were so good that you kind of can brush past the bad writing.
You absolutely can. Like, I rated this 4 stars.
Which is crazy.
It is crazy because it's badly written. Genuinely highly recommend you read this, and we never normally say that.
Never. I can't remember the last book we highly recommended.
It's just a good, fun romp. I think we did say to them you could read Punk 57.
But we also said they could read Windy City and Chestnut Springs.
Yeah, but Windy City is genuinely very good, so I don't
know. I don't know what to tell you. Windy City is just a good book.
And I'll say nothing more.
If you were into Wattpad, and if you were into Twilight, Hunger Games, Divergent, this is the book for you.
We said that earlier, it gives Twilight.
Yeah. If you were annoying in 2009, this is for you. And I say that as someone who was very annoying in 2009.
Me too. All the stuff. Follow us on Instagram, send us an email, rate us 5 stars, follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever you want. Take a look at the Ko-fi if you wish.
Thank you so much for listening. See you.
So upset.
See you on the other side of the parapet.
Do you make it across the parapet?
Me?
I definitely
I
don't.
definitely don't.
My balance is shite.
I would. You could give me. I could be Spider-Man and have sticky shoes, and I would still fall to my death.
Sticky shoes. My sticky
Sticky shoes. Goodbye.
All right,
Good
see you
night.
later.
Bye.